Hi everybody, Joseph here with Bean to Bar World, and on today's episode of Chocolate Travels, we're going to meet McGuire Chocolate. McGuire Chocolate is a bean to bar chocolate maker based in St. Andrews, New Brunswick, Canada. So we don't always think of Canada when we think of fine chocolate, but there's a lot of wonderful bean to bar makers popping up in Canada. So stay with me and let's fly on over to New Brunswick and meet McGuire Chocolate. Okay, so hello. So I am with McGuire Chocolate. I'm with Mark and Victoria. So hi, Mark and Victoria.
Hi.
So we're going to learn a little bit more about what McGuire Chocolate does, what you guys are all about, get an idea of your chocolate and everything that you do there. So feel free to, if you guys want to show me around your place, we can take a tour.
Yeah, let's hop straight into the tour. So we are here in beautiful St. Andrews, New Brunswick. We have a cafe that is the front end of our chocolate factory.
Okay.
So right now we're in the cafe space, and put on my hat. So
Very nice and open. Yeah.
Super hairnet. And so we'll go back here. We've got a bit of a glass wall, which helps customers see into the factory so that they can see. So first, when we get our cacao beans in, we hand sort them. We do that over here. We just have this little bit of a tray, and we dump the beans on. The really small stuff falls through, and then we do a little bit of hand sorting, get the beans that we want to roast over to our roasting area, which is just over here. This is a Cocoa Town roaster. We do 20 pounds at a time in here.
Okay.
It is a rotisserie sort of drum.
Yep.
And the cool thing about the roaster, once we roast our beans anywhere between 50 to 62 minutes, and then towards the end of the roast, we'll put this cooling tray underneath there and wait for it to come around. We'll open her up, take the temperature of the beans, we record everything as we're going, so that we know what our end surface temperature is. And then we actually just dump them straight into this cooling tray.
Nice.
Which then gets taken onto this rack. We've got a vacuum cleaner here that we turn on, and it sucks the air through the beans, which rapidly cools them.
Oh, very nice. Good.
That is our roasting. After they're cooled, we bring them over to our cracking station. So this guy we have sort of assembled, put together. It's an industrial part, so it's movable. We can tuck it away when we're not using it. And we took a Frankenstein here, and this is just the drum that comes with it. We have secured it to the top of the cart with a motor. We've got a speed control on the motor. It's not plugged in actually, but it crushes them all down here. So then we've got our nibs and shells all mixed up into a bucket like this. And then we come over here to our roaster.
Winnower.
Winnower. And this is another thing that we put together.
You guys made that yourself?
In here, the shells, and heavy stuff falls through here. Lighter stuff gets sucked through. We turn this on, and eventually, after many iterations, we get ourselves to clean nibs. So then, with our clean nibs, we come back over to this side of the factory again, where we grind the nibs into chocolate. So we've got 3 DCMs.
Oh wow,
these come from Diamond Custom Machines. 2 of them are a 70-pound capacity, and one of them is a 35 pound capacity. So this is where we do all of our grinding. We've got a batch going right here. This is a 75% Madagascar. And this just got on yesterday. I finished my sugar integration today. We staged it out over time so that it not like just kind of comes together more nicely when you do that. They're really tough, strong machines, but cacao is really tough and strong, and if you rush it, you'll be fighting the machine.
Definitely.
But to help that, we've got rapid refiners on here, so they allow us to set the temperature for chocolate. So right now I've got it set so that the chocolate, it would not go above 125 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
And then the environment temperature would not go above 135. So it's still kind of just getting up there.
You have a lot more control.
And yeah, it's a really cool feature because you really get to control the shape of your flavor profile as it's grinding. Higher temperatures, you're going to get more of that caramelization, rich notes going on. If you want to preserve the natural fruitiness to it, you can either not use it and just let it naturally spin at its normal grind temperature. You can set it even a little bit lower, or you can kind of pick your windows for each beans. So it gives you a level of control on the grind that's we found very nice to have. And of course, at the beginning of the roast, at the beginning of the grind, it's so nice to be able to just have the heat going on it, and it helps them grind down.
Did you find that when you used to use your older equipment, making the same chocolate with the new equipment, do you see a difference? Do you taste a difference?
Yeah, we absolutely do. And that was one of the big things when we scaled from the tabletop size to the bigger equipment. We saw a huge difference, particularly in the roaster. We'll go back to the roaster because that's a really great question, Joseph. You can see that this is not an airtight compartment. So as it's roasting, the beans aren't airtight. Where we came from a Baymore, where the chamber is completely sealed in, and the result is that the temperature that the beans get to, it takes a lot longer in something like this. So the Baymore is really good for really steep slopes in your roasting, which will give you like more bright notes. This is good for like a longer slope, which is really nice for caramelization notes. So it definitely, as soon as we scaled, we had to relearn how to roast.
Yeah, that's amazing.
We had to right back to the drawing board. We're super diligent with note keeping, and so we had years of notes compiled on how to roast each bean that we're working on. And it was essentially out to lunch, because when we tried to imitate what we did before to what we have now, it just wasn't happening the same way. So rather than try to fit that square into a circle hole, we just kind of figured out how to work with a circle. So that's definitely true from the roaster. And then from the grinder, absolutely. That heat being applied, like we grind for anywhere between 5 and 7 days on a batch, and so the difference, if you are maintaining a certain temperature over multiple days, it's absolutely a huge game changer. Like for us, we do an unroasted chocolate bar. So how I was explaining that we sort out the beans that we want to roast. The beans that we don't roast, we don't necessarily discard. If it's super shelly and not looking like it's going to be a good nib in there, we throw it out. But if there's still some nib to be had, we just winnow it and then go straight to the grinder, and we blend all of our origins so that each batch is completely non-repeatable, very unique. But having the rapid refiner on top and being able to hold a high temperature blows away the astringency of the raw beans. So you get a really special chocolate that is, it's something that it surprised us completely.
Imagine it's very sort of like wild in flavor, but not too pungent. Kind of blow that away with the temperature.
Exactly, yeah. And it was definitely something that we just didn't want to throw at the beans, so we thought, let's try something. And then when we did it, it was like one of those aha moments, like, this is awesome.
Very nice. Cool.
Yeah, so that's our space.
Yeah, you got a beautiful space. Nice and big.
Thank you. Yes, yeah, we moved in here almost 2 years ago now, and when we got the space, we tore down all the walls, and we rebuilt it kind of the way that we wanted it, which was an interesting exercise because you kind of design your space, but you don't really know what your workflow and what your challenges and how it's all gonna come together.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's neat though. We're definitely catching our groove now that we're a couple years in.
Beautiful. No, it's really nice to see from the pictures online. It doesn't look that big, but then when you walk through there, you got so much space in there, and it's really nice to see that you guys have a lot of room to grow and to create a lot of products.
And it's amazing though. No matter how much space you have, you always need more. And because we also make bread and we also make ice cream and baked goods and stuff, when you actually get rolling with everything in there, everything sort of takes up space, and it's space utilization is important no matter what.
Yeah. Very cool. Excellent. So we're going to go over a few questions, and we'll kind of take it from there. So how did you guys start even before starting your business, how did you start your journey into craft chocolate? Did you always know about it, or was there a point where someone introduced you?
Well, it all started in 2015. I knew nothing about chocolate, like absolutely nothing. And I was in Nicaragua, and I was hiking up to Mexico. I ran into a couple gentlemen from Sweden who I would become good friends with, and we spent a month together sort of working our way through Central America, and they had with them a big bag of cacao, and so we were eating it. Great snack.
Was it roasted?
No.
Okay.
No, it was unroasted, unfermented, just sort of market cacao, and it was so strange because like they're better if you peel them, but having them not be fermented, the shells were so stuck to the nib that you get what we call cacao thumb, where you're trying to peel it off, but it hurts your thumb. And eventually you just give up and say, I'm just going to eat it shell and all.
And you enjoyed it? It was good?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was curious to me. And I many times throughout that month, I would sit down and say, how is this chocolate? Like, how does this become chocolate? You tell me that this is the chocolate seed, but it doesn't feel or look or taste anything like chocolate. So it really sparked a curiosity in me that really sort of launched that journey into cacao. And what really surprised me at the beginning, because immediately, like I love to bake and I love to make things, and like I was thinking to myself that, well, what I'm going to do to turn this into chocolate is going to be pretty easy. I'm going to peel them all. I'm going to put them in a frying pan, and I'm going to melt it, and then that will be chocolate. And it didn't work. And so then I ground it up in a food processor. I said it just needs a little bit of a help. It'll if I get it small enough, I'll melt it into chocolate. And it didn't work. And so I kind of took that as a challenge and sort of started to piece together how you make chocolate. And again, that was sort of the entry point into the world.
No, that sounds very familiar to a lot of people when they, when I've had my classes and you introduce them to how it's made, they're blown away. They have no conception of how chocolate starts from a seed to a finished product. It's pretty funny to watch people respond to that.
I bet that it is. Yeah, because we think we know everything about chocolate, right? We're grown up with it, and like you, but we really only see that finished product. To take it all the way back to the source is, it's neat.
So then I guess you basically were just hooked, and from there it kind of grew into, I want to start making it for friends, and then you started at a market, and then you started selling it?
Well, from there, I bought a suitcase and I stuffed it filled with cacao.
Okay.
And I flew back to Calgary. And I brought this cacao, and I was taking it around showing everybody, and how curious is this? And I was like making baked goods with the cacao, wondering, like, again, like it just, I wasn't able to get it into that smooth chocolate that we spoke of.
Mm-hmm.
So I went around to every chocolate shop in Calgary, mm-hmm. and just talked to everybody. And it was there that I realized that there was not a lot of chocolate makers.
Yeah.
That I had these cacao beans, and not many people could tell me about them. And that really kind of like made me perk up, and that's when I started researching the industry. I found out about bean-to-bar chocolate. Okay. And then I went in from there, but it was out of a pure kind of like dumbfounded state of like, mm-hmm. What do you mean? Nobody knows anything about cacao.
No, that's really cool. It was completely by fluke. You know, you just started with the beans. You didn't even know about fine chocolate, craft chocolate. You never tried Soma or anything like that.
No, didn't have an idea.
Cool. Very nice. And was there a lot of headache at first, or was it very exciting? Like, did you not care about the fact that it wasn't working out?
I like a good challenge.
Yeah.
And so I took the approach. I started working with a chocolatier in Calgary, making confections, and I was selling chocolates at the market and talking to people. And at the same time, I took the École de Chocolat course on chocolate making. Mm-hmm. And so we were reading about the process and the supply chain and the farms. So I had sort of exposure, academic on the academic side, but not the hands-on side. Right. And I wasn't getting that in the chocolatier shop either. Yeah. And so that was when I decided to buy all of the equipment, set up my living space as a chocolate factory, mm-hmm. and start making the chocolate as best as I could. And at this point, I had decided that I wanted to make a business out of it.
Okay. And when was this? What year was that?
2016. Mm. So it was right in the winter of 2016.
Not even 5 years now.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, come a long way. That's cool.
Yeah. Good. So there's tons of challenges, but like I feel like the set of challenges, has never not been a set of challenges in front of us, and mm-hmm. as we've grown with the business, the challenges have evolved. But there's always just this plethora of things in front of you that you're trying to overcome or to get better at, and to move everything forward.
Well, that was one of my questions, is what was like the main challenge when you started, and is that any different than the challenges you face today?
Well, they're initially, the initial approach was I was going to buy 10 different cacao beans that were geographically dispersed. I wanted 10 beans from around the world, and I was going to make them all into a 2-ingredient, 70% chocolate, and just baseline of the flavor profile. So I kind of took a systematic approach to figuring out anything that I could track or trend or get used to. And then from there, and that took in itself 3 months just to make all of those into chocolate. Winnowing was a massive, my first batch I hand winnowed, just peeled everything, and it took, for a 6-pound batch, it took me 13 hours to hand peel them all. And so winnowing was a massive challenge at first, and it's been iterative. I built, after that first batch, before starting the second batch, I built a winnower, and we've had 4 or 5 different winnowers throughout as we've moved along. So that's definitely was one of the earlier ones, but we got it out of the way. And I think overall our largest challenge at the beginning was cost management. We wanted to, understand the total cost of the product right from the beginning. And when you're working at a small scale, it takes a lot of input, and then your output is so small. So getting it to a point where we could get a wide enough market distribution to have solid feedback, and we wanted to have the market validate the product before initiating a scale. But to do that, managing the costs and finding the right places to get it out there without entering into something that would have you selling your product at less than what it costs to make it on a sustained basis. So that was like the major thing that we were working on and with for the first 3 years of the business, before we were confident and ready and able to make the step to a larger production.
And what about today? Is there something today that kind of bothers you, that annoys you, like something you're trying to... I'm sure there's many, but...
Yes. I think from a grand perspective, the big thing that I would call more of a balancing is balancing out your production to your demand. And so we don't operate at full capacity. We're not pushing our machines to the most that we could. It's not batch after batch. Like at that, we want demand to drive supply, and we don't want to be super efficient in making chocolate and have a really huge stockpile. Yeah. We try to balance that, but at the same time, in order for you to fill out your lineup of chocolate, it still takes months to build up a good supply. So it's really just about like forecasting where the business is going to be over the next year, and trying to put yourself in a really good position to do that. When I first started, I got some really great advice about Christmas. Christmas with chocolate that's the big event, and it really is. And so the analogy is that Christmas is like a big wave, and if you're ready for Christmas, you can ride the wave. You'll be surfing. It's a lot of fun. It's exhilarating. It's all good. If you're not ready, you get destroyed. That wave just throws you aside, and like you'll be somersaulting in. And so it's really just making sure that we have product, and that it's not sitting in stockpiles, and that we're effectively managing that supply and demand.
Because the chocolate, some people say, it's the dark chocolate will last for a long time, but the flavor does disintegrate after a year, after 2 years. You don't really want it sitting around too long, I find.
No, it's
to appreciate
like anything,
the flavors.
If you grind a spice, you get that immediate explosion of flavor straight out of it. Yeah. And so chocolate is no different. And it's funny, when we have the grinders going, and like when we just started integrating our nibs, and then there's customers out in the front, they will always be asking, what is going on back there? Yeah. It's, it doesn't smell the way that you would expect. It's not quite like roasting, where you're getting that brownie smell. Yeah. There's more of that like alcoholic, winey sort of, that fermentation of the beans is expressing itself at its very fullest at that moment. And then, as you say, as time goes on, everything sort of softens and mellows.
Yeah. Good. And what has the response been? Because I'm assuming St. Andrews is a pretty small town, small city, right? So what did people think when there's a chocolate maker there? I'm assuming you were the first one ever to exist.
We were.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the same challenge that a lot of chocolate makers would have, and that when people walk into a chocolate shop, they've been conditioned over the past 100 years to expect a certain thing. Yeah. And that thing is typically flash. You've got all kinds of different things to captivate your imaginations, and colors and different shapes that the chocolate's in. And when you walk into our store, all of our chocolate bars look the same. Yeah. They and we've taken a real approach of having our artwork on our packaging, and really having an attempt to make our packaging stand out for just that reason.
No, I think that's a good point. The fact that commercial chocolate focuses on the visual when the product more or less is all the same. And then you guys, it's all about the flavor. But how do you express flavor visually, right?
It's tricky. And then it's like, so I can explain to people, if I can get your time for 10 minutes, I can go through the lineup of chocolate bars and I can explain how this one tastes like orange and this one tastes like butter. And like, I can explain that, but I can't sit there all day. And people don't have time to do it. You only have that split second. So you have to sort of take yourself out of the equation and you have to have the chocolate sell itself. So again, that's another very big challenge that we face is kind of, because it always is crummy when someone walks into your store and expects one thing and then doesn't get it and then walks out and they didn't give what you have a chance because they had in their mind what they wanted.
And sometimes it might just take time. I mean, if they live there, who knows, down the line they might come again, or a friend might say, here's some chocolate. They're like, this is really good. Wow, I didn't realize McGuire Chocolate made chocolate like that, So
exactly.
It'll come around.
And it's an attrition thing. And I think the more bean to bar chocolate makers there are out there, the better that it is for everybody, because it's an uphill education battle. But the more people that we have on the front lines that are explaining, it's so nice when people walk through the door and say, oh, bean to bar chocolate, I was at so-and-so shop in this place, and it's just like, oh, that's amazing. And then you can kind of it's just neat to see that it is trickling through, and that people are sort of becoming more and more aware of the chocolate industry, and it's only going to get more and more mature.
So what are some of your memorable or favorite responses that you've had from any of your customers?
It's always nice. It's really always nice when people try to put themselves into a box and try to say, I don't like dark chocolate, dark chocolates taste bad and it's bitter, and then you explain that there's a plethora of flavor profiles within the dark chocolate world, and that this one it's super fruity, and this one it's got more nutty characteristics, and then it's when they try it and then you see the light bulb go off. It doesn't happen every time, but when you do see that sort of epiphany, it's just like,
it's so satisfying.
Awesome. It is.
When people say, oh, I never liked dark chocolate, but this actually like that's very rewarding, I think, for a bean to bar maker. Cool. Very nice. So what about a lot of consumers today, especially the ones that are attracted to craft chocolate, tend to be the ones who also are concerned about fair trade, organic, things like that. Those are usually the two big keywords that people look for when it comes to chocolate. So do you have customers there who request that sort of stuff, ask you questions about that, and how do you respond to them?
We do. And at first, we hid. If a bean was organic, we didn't tell the customer that it was, because in my mind, like craft chocolate, nobody's using pesticides. Like the organic tag is more for the customer, but it's not like we've got an indigenous tribe in Colombia harvesting wild cacao. They're not certified organic, and the challenges that they face to become certified organic are months, like they're crazy. An organizing body from another country, like the language, the bureaucratic process of it, the cost of it all, it puts them at a disadvantage when you say, I'm not going to have their chocolate because it's not certified organic. So we fought that at the beginning, and we really wanted to educate people on the industry and what you should look for, and what are your flavor determinants, and try to get away from that sort of generic organic fair trade. And we do, because of pressure from stores to have our products listed as organic, We do list which ones are organic on it. But I mean, me personally, it's not something that I love. And to the fair trade point, I think fair trade's not enough. It's transparent trade. Tell me where the beans came from. When you have somebody putting their name on that product, there's a reputation on the line, and that is so much more important. Like first I need to know the country. If you can't, if it doesn't say the country, then like, but then that's not enough. Where within that country, who's growing the beans, who's fermenting them, that information on the package is what it's all about.
The more information, the better. No, I like that what you said about organic too, because it does, sometimes like the idea of it is wonderful, but it does become a marketing tool, and then it pushes out the very people that you're trying to help, right? You or the consumers are trying to help. So that's a really good point. And from a craftsman point of view too, organic doesn't necessarily mean good quality, right? You can have good quality organic, and you can have poor quality organic too. So no, I like that you guys are really pushing the educational aspect, really get people to understand quality and all that sort of stuff. That's very good. So from a craftsmanship point of view, you must get many different types of cacao. How do you decide, like, what is it that makes you decide, I'm going to get this cacao from Colombia or this one from Mexico or whatever it is?
So there's lots of variables. In the beginning, we were cacao crazy. We brought in every origin we possibly could. We would have like 13 to 18 at a time, doing small batches of each, and we would show up to a tasting event. We would put on and well, we found people hit a threshold at tasting about 9 different chocolates. That it starts to, like, that's as much as you can handle. So we started to then dial down the variety that we had, and when we scaled, it was just a natural, like, you just can't possibly keep up with so many origins. So it became down to identifying how many we wanted to carry. And then within that, we try to have a balance of flavor profiles so that we do anywhere between 4 and 6 70% chocolates at a time, and we want each of them to be unique in flavor profile. So even though we may love one cacao bean, if it's very similar to one that we currently have in the lineup, we won't go there. We'll try to sort of navigate that balance. And the balance is really important because as we've grown, like at the beginning, we were 2 ingredient, dark chocolate. That's it. That's all, folks. You get the like you.
A lot of people start really, like that. Yeah.
We really, well, purist at heart. And I wanted to really showcase that there's so much beautiful just diversity within the product itself, within just chocolate, that you don't need to add anything.
Because it's all about the bean, right? That's why you got into it. It's all about the bean, right? Yeah. That's
right. But then as you grow, people want variety in other things, and so we started, we'll make a milk chocolate, and then we started doing some inclusion or infusions, I should say, and then we got into white chocolate. So we kind of have the full spectrum, but when we look at what origins we're going to carry, having a balance helps us in pairing up infusions. So you never know what kind of collaboration you're going to find or who's going to approach you to do something. So having a little of everything from a flavor perspective on hand kind of gives us a little bit of freedom for our limited release batches.
Yeah. No, that's good. The milk bar that I got from you guys recently, it's really, really good. Like really creamy and milky, and it works really well with, I think it's the Costa Rica beans you chose.
Yeah, it's perfect. And you know what? Before we made a milk chocolate, we had this, all of our experience was in just trying different cacao beans. And at this point, we worked with over 30 different cacao beans. And when I decided to make a milk chocolate, I had one in mind. It was that bean, and I said, that is my milk chocolate. And at the same time, they got dropped by the North American supplier. So I was no longer able to get those beans. So we went down and we checked out the farm in Nahua in Costa Rica, and really awesome stuff they got going on down there. And we brought some beans back with us on the plane, and then we were able to open that direct trade relationship with them. But it was one of those things where it's like, I know what I want my milk chocolate to be, and it worked out.
That's good. No, it shows you have some cacao intuition. You know it works. Good. So are there any results over the years where you're experimenting that are very memorable to you? Something that worked out really well, you had no idea, or something that just was terrible and you were shocked how bad it was?
Yeah. I feel like when we were gonna do an oat milk chocolate bar, and we were doing it as a dairy-free alternative to milk chocolate. We were experimenting. We thought this would be a nice thing to have, and so we ended up pairing it up with a cacao bean that had really like brownie and butter characteristics. So it was just like very kind of different from like the brownie fudge, where it's just more like butter. Okay. And so we put just oatmeal and buttery cacao together. It tasted like a cookie, like an oatmeal raisin cookie. And it was for me, like at first it started off with like, yeah, we'll have an oat milk chocolate bar and it'll be a wonderful dairy alternative. But it transformed into something very special to me. And right now that's our vegan Hank bar. So it's found its way into our lineup, long-standing.
Very nice. Good. Yeah, I've had that one. I love oatmeal, so that works out well.
Me too. I love a good oatmeal raisin cookie.
Good. So can you tell everyone right now, what's your lineup?
So from a 70% perspective, we've got Ben Tre in Vietnam, which we really love those beans. And Coco Camille, which we've had from the very beginning. So
I haven't seen that one.
Yes, and it's been like, it was a part of the 10 origins that we originally worked with, and it's the only one of the original 10 that we still work with.
That's actually the one that got me into you guys, because I remember I tried them and it was the Coco Camille with like the strawberry note or whatever. That was like, wow, these guys know what they're doing.
It was nice when we came across those beans. So that's another thing, is that like the flavor of the bean, like it's just so good. It's like, you got to give the credit to the farm. The farm, they do a fantastic job at Coco Camille at producing a clean product that like you could go so many different directions with the roast and the grind. Like it's just so good.
Much to work with.
So that we do that as a 70 and an 80, and then we've got two 70s that we'll always have around, rotated through, Adios Mac in Guatemala, and our Huacos in Colombia.
Yeah, that's a really nice one. I like that one.
It is. Yeah, that it's got a really nice like macadamia nutty sort of, like it's smooth and flavorful. And those are two origins that if you have never tried dark chocolate, if you're afraid of dark chocolate, those will they'll win you over, because there's nothing crazy about them. They're just really warm, nice chocolate to have.
Yeah, especially the Colombia one. It's very what people kind of want from a chocolate. Very comforting.
It is. It is, yeah. I think it does spark a lot of familiarity with people. So that's really good. And the reason we always have them around is because they're a part of our Hank series. So Adios Mac goes into Senor Hankito and Peanut Hank.
And for those who don't know, Hank is your cat.
So Hank is our cat. We've got his wall of pictures. So we have an artist in Calgary by the name of Jim Little. He's a really talented artist. We met him at a market, and he does all pencil sketches, and we said, Jim, we need you to draw our cat.
Yeah, they're very cute. I like the peanut one.
Yeah.
And who's the artist for your new wrappers?
So that is a gentleman by the name of Chris Parley, and he's in Victoria.
Okay.
Really amazing watercolor artist. We met him here in St. Andrews while he was doing an art residency, and when we saw his work, we were looking for a bit of a rebrand when we moved over to New Brunswick, and we weren't sure kind of what the new look of McGuire Chocolate would be. But when we saw his work, we were like, this is it. So we get him to, we kind of collaborate on ideas for just nice landscapes, some things to do with the chocolate, like farms or our operation, or just some nice things around town, and we get him to draw them, and then we adapt that into chocolate bar packaging.
Very nice.
Which is nice, so every one of our bars is a piece of art on the outside and as well as on the inside. So
good.
So our Hank series has 6 bars on it. The goal, the vision is to have 9 because cats have 9 lives. Definitely Hank is a diva, and so it's getting him in the right light and having everything be perfect for having a chocolate bar, for a character, for an image, having all of those come together. You kind of just got to take them as they come.
And so what is the best way for people to buy chocolate from you guys? You know, whether you're locally or in Canada or even outside of Canada, if you guys do that, what's the best way for people to buy from you?
Start on our website. We do direct shipping all over the world. So we'll get the chocolate to your door, but you'll also find a list of retailers where you can if there's one that's local to you, you can pop in and check them out there. And we also on the website you'll find a chocolate subscription. So every month we mail out 3 chocolate bars on a common theme to our subscribers, and so that is a nice way to just sort of make one click, and every month you can sit back as the chocolate comes in, and you'll get sort of a walk through of the chocolate world, at least through our lenses.
Is the subscription open to people outside of Canada as well?
It is, yeah. So we have a few south of the border that are on it, but limited at this point to North America. Okay.
Good. And aside from your website, what are some other ways people can stay in touch with you?
Instagram is the best. That's the one that we're the most sort of active on. But Instagram and Facebook are probably your best way to follow us and to interact, and
Excellent. Good. Well, thank you, Mark and Victoria and Hank. And that was wonderful. It was really nice to hear your view on chocolate and your values and what you guys do. So thank you for that, and
thank you very much, Joseph. What you do is very, very appreciated. We love it, and we're happy to come on and chat anytime.
Thank you. Awesome. All right. Well, take care and talk to you soon.
Sounds good.